Something unusual was happening behind the polished image of the modern royal world, and many royal watchers began to notice the signs long before the headlines started appearing. Quiet movements, carefully staged appearances, and subtle symbolism all pointed to something bigger unfolding. It wasn't announced with trumpets or official statements. Instead, it appeared quietly, almost like a shadow moving across the royal stage. But once people started paying attention, it became impossible to ignore. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had once promised a different life, a private life, a life away from royal duties, away from palace expectations, away from the weight of centuries-old traditions. When they stepped back from official roles, the message seemed clear. They wanted independence, freedom, a new beginning far from royal protocol. But now, years later, something didn't quite match that original promise. Observers began noticing a pattern. Carefully arranged visits, meetings with officials, staged photographs, and coordinated media coverage started appearing once again. It looked familiar. Too familiar. Many commentators began asking the same question. If Harry and Meghan had left royal life behind, why did these appearances look so much like official royal tours? The recent Middle East trip brought those questions into sharper focus than ever before. Reports began circulating that the couple had traveled with a level of organization and presentation that seemed unusually formal for two private individuals. Images showed handshakes, formal greetings, and structured meetings that looked strikingly similar to traditional royal engagements. The camera angles, the settings, the posture. Everything seemed designed to resemble the kind of visits normally carried out by working members of the royal family. To supporters, it looked like global humanitarian work. To critics, it looked like something very different. Some began calling it a shadow royal tour, and that phrase spread quickly, because the more people looked, the more similarities they noticed. From the way Meghan greeted crowds to the tone of the speeches, from the clothing choices to the symbolism in photographs, royal watchers pointed out parallels that seemed impossible to ignore. Some said the style closely echoed the humanitarian visits once carried out by Princess Diana. Others said the structure looked increasingly similar to the carefully planned appearances of Prince William and Catherine. Whether intentional or not, the comparisons were everywhere, and comparisons inside the royal world are never neutral. They always carry meaning. Inside palace circles, insiders reportedly began expressing concern. Not necessarily because of the trip itself, but because of how it might be interpreted by the public. The monarchy depends heavily on clarity. There is a clear distinction between official representatives of the crown and private individuals. Blurring that line can create confusion, and confusion can create tension. Royal analysts began pointing out that official royal tours are not casual events. They are carefully negotiated diplomatic engagements arranged through government channels and coordinated with strict protocol. They represent the crown. When working royals travel abroad, they do so with formal approval and diplomatic coordination. That is what makes a royal tour official. But Harry and Meghan no longer hold working royal roles, which raised an uncomfortable question. If this wasn't an official royal tour, why did it look like one? That question quickly became the center of intense debate. Supporters argued that the couple had every right to travel and support causes they believed in. They pointed out that humanitarian work doesn't belong exclusively to royalty. But critics saw something else entirely. They saw branding, they saw symbolism, they saw strategy. Some analysts suggested that what was happening might be an attempt to maintain a royal-style global presence without the constraints of royal duty, a kind of unofficial royal identity, and if that interpretation was correct, the implications were enormous. Because the monarchy depends on hierarchy and structure, there is a clear order, a clear chain of representation. King Charles sits at the top. Prince William stands next in line. Official roles are defined carefully. Any appearance that challenges that structure attracts attention immediately, and this trip did exactly that. Social media exploded with commentary almost overnight. Some users praised Harry and Meghan for continuing global charity work despite stepping back from royal duties. Others accused them of trying to imitate official royal appearances. The debate quickly became intense. Videos and photos were analyzed frame by frame. Every gesture was interpreted, every detail discussed. Even clothing choices became part of the conversation. Some royal watchers claimed Meghan's outfits resembled styles once worn by Princess Diana during humanitarian visits. Others pointed to similarities between Harry's posture during meetings and the way Prince William conducts official engagements. To some observers, these similarities felt symbolic, almost deliberate. Whether they were or not became another point of debate. Meanwhile, commentators began asking a bigger question. How would the palace respond? Because silence from the palace often speaks louder than statements. And so far, there had been no official reaction, no announcements, no clarification, no criticism, just silence. But palace silence can mean many things. Sometimes it means the issue is considered too small to address. Other times it means discussions are happening privately, and insiders suggested that this situation might fall into the second category. Because the monarchy has faced many crises over the decades, but conflicts over representation are among the most sensitive. Who speaks for the crown matters, who represents the monarchy matters, and who appears to represent the monarchy matters just as much. If Harry and Meghan were building a global presence that resembled official royal work, that could create long-term complications, especially for the future king. Prince William has spent years shaping a public image focused on stability and responsibility. He is widely seen as the future of the monarchy. Every public move he makes is carefully considered. Every appearance is part of a larger vision for the monarchy's future. And maintaining a clear distinction between official and unofficial roles is essential to that vision, which is why some insiders claim this situation has drawn particular attention within William's circle. Not necessarily because of personal disagreements, but because of institutional concerns. The monarchy is not just a family. It is an institution built on tradition and structure, and institutions resist ambiguity. Some analysts believe that if unofficial royal-style appearances continue, pressure could grow for clearer boundaries. That could mean formal restrictions, or public clarification, or even stronger separation between Harry and Meghan and the royal institution. But those decisions carry risks of their own, because public sympathy can shift quickly, and royal history has shown that attempts to control narratives sometimes backfire, which brings the story to its most dramatic possibility, a deeper divide between Harry and the royal family than ever before, not necessarily visible on the surface, but growing quietly behind the scenes, because sometimes the most important royal stories are the ones that unfold without official announcements, without ceremonies, without statements, just gradual shifts, gradual distance, gradual change. And some observers believe that this Middle East trip may mark one of those turning points, not because of what happened publicly, but because of what it might represent privately, a new phase, a new direction, a new reality in which Harry and Meghan continue building an international presence that looks increasingly royal, even without the title of working royals. And if that continues, the palace may eventually be forced to respond. Because the question is no longer just about one trip, it's about the future of royal identity itself, and whether two former working royals can operate in a space that looks royal, but isn't officially royal at all. As the world watched from afar, palace insiders were said to be quietly observing the unfolding events with a mix of concern and frustration. Every public appearance of Harry and Meghan was dissected in real time by aides, advisors, and members of the extended royal household. Reports from those close to the crown suggest that Charles, while maintaining his composure publicly, was deeply unsettled by the optics of the trip. There is a tradition in the monarchy. Protocol matters, appearances matter, and above all, order matters. And yet, this journey seemed to defy the established order, or at least blur its boundaries. King Charles had long accepted that Harry and Meghan would carve their own path, one that existed largely outside the traditional monarchy. But this latest series of carefully staged appearances was something different. Insiders described it as a public relations masterstroke with unintended consequences. By adopting the structure, tone, and symbolism of official royal tours, the couple created a scenario in which the public could easily mistake them for formal representatives of the crown. This subtle ambiguity, experts say, has the potential to undermine decades of carefully curated royal image building. Meanwhile, Prince William, the heir apparent, reportedly monitored each development closely. According to sources, William views the monarchy as an institution that transcends individual personalities. Every action, every public engagement, and every global interaction by family members carries significance not only for the present, but for the future of the crown. The idea of a former working royal mimicking official tours without coordination was reportedly seen by William and his inner circle as a breach of unspoken rules, a challenge to the balance of power and influence. Within the royal family, this tension, some claim, is not new. What is new, however, is the level of public visibility that Harry and Meghan achieved. In the past, disagreements and breaches of protocol could be managed quietly, behind palace walls. Memo exchanges, gentle advisories, and private meetings ensured that disputes rarely spilled into the public domain. But social media, constant news cycles, and the carefully documented footage of this fake royal tour left little room for discretion. The world saw it, and the world reacted, and in ways that were not entirely favorable to the former couple. Analysts suggest that the repercussions are potentially severe. In a monarchy built on centuries of tradition, perception is everything. Every subtle gesture, every smile, every handshake can communicate loyalty or dissent, respect or defiance. By adopting the visual language of official royalty without the corresponding authority, Harry and Meghan created a narrative that the public could interpret as symbolic rivalry. And where symbolism goes, speculation quickly follows. Reports began circulating in the UK and internationally that discussions behind closed doors at Buckingham Palace were becoming increasingly serious. Courtiers are said to have debated the long-term implications of the tour, not only for public perception but for internal family dynamics. Some analysts even suggest that conversations about constitutional boundaries and the proper roles of former working royals were quietly revived in the wake of these appearances. Rumors began to surface about potential measures to clearly delineate official roles and appearances, though no formal actions have been publicly announced. For Harry and Meghan supporters, the criticism seemed overblown. They argue that the couple is simply using their global platform to continue charitable and humanitarian work. The Middle East trip, they say, reflects genuine concern for the communities they visited, but for the palace, the optics are unavoidable. When a former working royal performs a visit that mirrors official tours, the line between private initiative and royal representation becomes dangerously thin. Amidst the mounting tension, whispers of a possible crisis at the highest levels of the monarchy began to circulate. Sources close to palace operations hint that the optics of this tour could trigger discussions that some have never seen before. Conversations about succession, leadership, and the future role of the crown in a modern world. While these discussions remain speculative, the fact that they exist at all suggests the seriousness with which senior royals are approaching the situation. Public reaction, of course, has been relentless. Social media is ablaze with memes, commentary, and heated debates. Every photo is scrutinized, every gesture is analyzed. One hand gesture in a meeting, one pose during a photograph, can be interpreted as symbolic. And because Harry and Meghan are no strangers to media attention, every move they make is magnified exponentially. Supporters praise the couple's commitment to global causes. Critics question their motives, suggesting that these highly orchestrated appearances are a form of branding disguised as charity. Amidst all this scrutiny, some commentators began linking the tour to broader tensions within the royal family. According to unnamed insiders, Prince William is increasingly concerned about the public perception of his own role and that of his father, King Charles. Every unofficial royal appearance by Harry and Meghan creates a subtle but significant contrast. Where William embodies tradition, responsibility, and continuity, Harry and Meghan project independence, modernity, and a global personal brand. The juxtaposition has not gone unnoticed by the public, and insiders report that it has not gone unnoticed inside the palace either. The combination of media scrutiny, public speculation, and palace concern has created a unique scenario. One where private decisions ripple outward, influencing public perception, institutional trust, and potentially the strategic direction of the monarchy itself. Analysts warn that the situation could escalate if left unchecked. While no formal declaration or response is expected immediately, the very act of appearing to mirror official roles has triggered a cascade of questions that may need to be answered sooner rather than later. Amid all this, one narrative dominates: conversations among royal commentators, the potential for a symbolic challenge to the established order. not in terms of overt confrontation, but through optics, messaging, and perception. By taking on the visual language of official visits, Harry and Meghan are communicating, intentionally or not, a statement about their continued relevance and influence. And in the royal world, influence is power. This situation has also sparked renewed debate about the public's appetite for royal drama. Unlike in past decades, the modern audience consumes royal news instantly, globally, and endlessly. Every event becomes a story. Every story becomes a narrative, and every narrative becomes part of a broader mythology about the monarchy. In this context, Harry and Meghan's trip is not just a simple visit. It is a chapter in a story that spans generations, institutions, and public imagination. Palace aides are said to be watching closely, noting not only the optics, but the potential ripple effects. Conversations reportedly touch on questions of precedence. How should the monarchy respond if former royals continue to perform highly visible global appearances? How should King Charles ensure clarity without igniting public backlash? How does Prince William navigate the delicate balance between supporting his brother and safeguarding institutional integrity? Each question carries weight, and each answer, could shape the monarchy for years to come. Even within the family, sources claim, the tension is palpable. Private conversations between Charles, William, and other senior members reportedly touch on the implications of Harry and Meghan's appearances. While no disagreements are said to have escalated publicly, analysts speculate that these discussions may include contingency plans for maintaining a clear distinction between official and unofficial royal engagements. At the same time, the public spectacle of the trip has drawn attention to Meghan Markle's global influence. Media analysts point out that her carefully crafted presence, speech patterns, and wardrobe choices send subtle messages of authority and empathy. Harry, too, projects a sense of purpose and continuity, evoking comparisons with his mother, Princess Diana. For supporters, this evokes admiration. For critics, it signals encroachment on traditional royal territory. The underlying question, insiders suggest, is simple but profound. Can former royals operate in a space that mimics official duty without undermining the crown itself? The answer is far from clear. On one hand, humanitarian work is universally respected and encouraged. On the other, symbolism and perception carry immense weight in a monarchy that thrives on centuries of protocol. The tension between these two realities has created a delicate dance, one that requires skill, foresight, and constant attention. And then comes the dramatic possibility that royal watchers cannot ignore: abdication rumors. While there is no indication that King Charles is considering stepping down, analysts note that unprecedented scenarios often provoke unprecedented conversations. If the public perceives confusion in roles or authority, pressure, subtle or direct, could mount. In that light, every unofficial appearance by Harry and Meghan is more than a tour. It is a ripple in the complex, centuries-old ecosystem of monarchy. As the Middle East tour drew to a close, the ripple effects across the royal family and the palace media machine became undeniable. Insiders claim that Buckingham Palace experienced a week of intense behind-the-scenes discussions, with advisors, aides, and senior members weighing the implications of every action Harry and Meghan took. Every handshake, every public appearance, every carefully staged photo opportunity had already been dissected by millions online. And the palace knew it. Prince William reportedly could no longer watch quietly. According to sources, he saw the tour not merely as a personal venture by his brother and sister-in-law, but as a symbolic challenge to the established hierarchy of the monarchy. It's not just about charity, an insider reportedly said. It's about optics, about influence, and about who gets to speak for the monarchy in the eyes of the world. This sentiment, shared by a number of palace aides, reflects a growing concern that Harry and Meghan's global presence could blur the lines of authority and public perception, something no modern monarchy has faced at this scale. The tension between the brothers, once subtle and private, began to seep into public consciousness. Rumors circulated of private conversations that grew heated, with William emphasizing duty, responsibility, and legacy, while Harry reportedly stressed independence, personal freedom, and global relevance. Though no formal confrontation occurred, in public, sources suggest the air between the siblings was thick with unspoken disagreements. Each smiled for the cameras, but behind palace walls, strategy sessions and careful planning determined every word, gesture, and engagement. Meanwhile, King Charles is said to have taken a calm but measured approach. Publicly, he praised the humanitarian impact of the trip, carefully maintaining unity. Privately, however, advisors report that he was frustrated with the apparent mimicry of official royal tours. These visits, while charitable, carried the weight of symbolism. In a monarchy steeped in tradition, appearances are not superficial. They are essential to authority, legitimacy, and continuity. By engaging in quasi-official tours without coordination, Harry and Meghan inadvertently created tension that extended beyond mere family dynamics. Public reaction, as expected, was explosive. Social media buzzed with speculation, memes, and endless debates. Every post, video, and picture of the trip was shared, retweeted, and commented on millions of times. In some corners, the couple was praised for their dedication to humanitarian causes, while others accused them of exploiting royal symbolism for personal branding. The contrast between Harry and Meghan's high-visibility approach and William and Catherine's measured, protocol-driven appearances created a fascinating dichotomy for royal followers. One side saw rebellion, the other saw progress, and somewhere in between, the monarchy had to navigate the optics carefully. One of the most striking revelations came from those close to palace operations. Advisors reportedly began reviewing contingency plans in case these highly visible trips started influencing public opinion in ways that could undermine the institution. Discussions were said to involve succession, public messaging, and even the possibility of clarifying roles for former working royals. These conversations underscore how seriously the crown takes perception, influence, and control in an era dominated by social media, viral news, and instant global commentary. Insiders also revealed that Catherine, Princess of Wales, quietly monitored the tour from afar, working closely with William to assess the public and institutional implications. Sources claim that the couple is acutely aware that Harry and Meghan's influence cannot be dismissed entirely, but must be contextualized within the monarchy's framework. Strategic communication, public appearances, and charitable projects are all tools the palace is reportedly considering to reinforce the difference between former working royals and heirs apparent. In the media, pundits were quick to speculate. Would this lead to a permanent divide between the brothers? Could the monarchy face a constitutional or reputational crisis? Headlines suggested dramatic scenarios, some even hinting at abdication rumors, though these remain unconfirmed. Experts stress that such speculation is part of the modern cycle of royal reporting. Every perceived misstep is amplified, interpreted, and transformed into a narrative with global reach. At the heart of this story is the human element. Harry and Meghan are navigating a complex reality. Former working royals, global figures, parents, and individuals striving for relevance. Every decision carries personal, professional, and institutional weight. William and Catherine, heirs to the throne, are equally navigating a delicate balance. Loyalty to family, duty to institution, and strategic leadership in a modern monarchy. Meanwhile, King Charles must ensure the crown remains respected and relevant, even as media scrutiny and family dynamics collide. As the dust settled from the Middle East tour, a pattern emerged. Harry and Meghan's strategy had succeeded in one sense. They were visible, relevant, and the focus of global attention. But the palace's internal management of optics, messaging, and family unity remained intact. According to sources, discussions at Buckingham Palace are ongoing, carefully considering the long-term impact of these appearances and planning next steps to maintain the distinction between former working royals and the official monarchy. For royal watchers, this is not just another story. It is a pivotal moment in the evolving narrative of the British monarchy. The events raise questions about tradition versus modernity, duty versus independence, and perception versus reality. Every action now, from royal engagements to media interactions, has amplified significance. And while no formal decisions have been announced, the echoes of this tour will be felt in palace corridors, public opinion, and social media feeds for months to come. In the end, the lesson is clear. In the age of instant global news, every gesture, every tour, and every photograph carries weight far beyond what the monarchy has historically managed. Harry and Meghan's fake royal tour is more than a series of appearances. It is a reflection of the challenges modern royals face in balancing personal freedom, public duty, and institutional legacy. As audiences worldwide continue to debate the implications, one thing remains certain: the royal drama is far from over. Whether it leads to shifts in influence, changes in protocol, or even discussions about succession and leadership, the story of Harry and Meghan's bold approach will remain a defining chapter in the modern history of the British monarchy. So, stay tuned, because in the world of royalty, the next headline is never far away and the drama never truly ends.